Start the joint Select Board and Advisory Board meeting. First, I'd like to welcome everyone to this new public meeting space in Town Hall. For many, this is the first opportunity you will have to see the changes in person. This is part of the first major update in Town Hall in 50 years. So as you can imagine, any building or home after 50 years shows signs of need for maintenance, upkeep, remodeling to keep to current codes. Often we hear people say or state on social media that the money was allocated at town meeting for just bathrooms. As you can clearly all see this evening, that is not correct. I would like to just take a moment to clarify this misunderstanding and describe the actual scope of this project. To date, the following has been completed, and the citizens now have 3 new bathrooms, a nursing room, which this town never had in this building before, offices for the select board members, town administrator, and executive staff, a new chamber here that you're seated in for 65 people greatly expanded, new IT and media room in the chamber, new electronics, TV monitors for Zoom meetings. We have the first employee lunchroom. Before you had to eat underneath the stairs, we've got actually a place where our employees can actually sit and eat lunch. We painted the first and second floors, the entire interior. We put new flooring on the second level. We put LED lighting on the second level. In addition to that, we will complete 3 more bathrooms. We'll do a custodial washroom. We will do new IT offices with a work area with a secure server area. We're going to have a new accounting office area, and we're going to enlarge our veterans office. The last and not least is we are putting the building department in a new location on the second floor. This is all in addition to a prior exterior painting and replacement of rotten boards on the exterior of the building and to replace an outdated rubber roof. So I think you can clearly see the money that was funded is significantly more than just a few bathrooms. And I'm glad to have this opportunity to welcome you to look at it firsthand. Those are my opening comments. I'd like to recognize my fellow select board members. The clerk Darcy was not able to make it here this evening. He sends his condolences. To my left is Chair Lynn Fidler. The current chair, Jim Kilcoyne. Also over here at my left, we have Town Administrator Michael Maresco. We have Town Moderator Jim Fitzgerald, and we also have Town Council Mr. Galvin. So I'd like to start the meeting, if we could, with a Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So now I'd like to make a motion to open the meeting. I do want to remind everybody that this is being taped by MCM TV. So I'd like to make a motion to open the meeting of the Joint Select Board and Advisory Board meeting on September 19th, 2023, and I'll look for a second.
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Mr. Kilcoyne?
Aye.
Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
2-0 vote to open on the select.
The meeting is now open. Everyone knows that this is a hybrid meeting. We've done that since COVID, so we've got people watching, we've got people in the room. It works out really well. I'd like to call on the town moderator. Mr. Fitzgerald, if you would like any opening comments. If not, we can move forward.
Nothing in particular. Pretty brief warrant. We've got 13 articles in this warrant, so should move very quickly and doesn't seem to be anything too controversial, so that's good.
Okay. Then I would like to turn this over to the chair of the advisory board, Ms. Scollins, for welcoming comments, introduce your team, and so on.
Great, thank you. So I'm using without a microphone for the first time, I guess, doing these meetings, so I'll try to be as loud. If I need to speak up, somebody just throw some thumbs up. So welcome to the Joint Advisory Board Selectmen's meeting to discuss the articles for the special town meeting slated for Monday, October 16th. The advisory board is now in session. A few housekeeping notes before we start. This meeting is for information gathering and is not the forum to tell us if you are for or against an article. All questions must go through me, much like the town meeting and the moderator. As I call on you, state your name and address and ask your question. Seeing none, or after doing our best to resolve all questions, we will move on to the next article. The articles will be read in their entirety at the town meeting in October. Tonight, I will be highlighting the article based upon the description in the table of contents, which is an unnumbered page directly before page 1. I'll then go to the sponsor of that particular article for an explanation. In the past, this has expedited the process, but still allowing for discussion if needed. First up is Article 1 on the special town meeting, and I recognize Michael Marshfield.
Mr. Chairman, this is a very standard article we see all the time at town meeting. It's unpaid bill article, so these are bills that come in at the end, beyond June 30th, when the fiscal year ends. Only way to pay these bills is to come before town meeting, and it requires 9/10.
Any questions? Seeing none, move on to Article 2. Michael. I'm sorry, this is collective bargaining agreements.
Article 2, this is a standard article you see every 3 years. We're in the process right now of negotiating police, fire, and DPW and library. If in fact, this is here, so if in fact we were to settle before town meeting, we've always brought it before the board, although the last couple of go-arounds, we don't need to request any funding, so we do it as a courtesy. We're not required to have town meeting approve it because it's funded through the budget process.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, moving on to Article 3, personal bylaws compensation. Michael.
Article 3, this is, so the bylaw employees, which are not in collective bargaining agreements, they get whatever clerical and supervisory get, so this is an adjustment so that they get the same salary increase.
Good, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, moving on to Article 4, personal bylaws Schedule A and B. Michael.
Article 4, this is an update. The Assistant Animal Control Officer grade is being changed from a 6 to an 8, and you'll see in the warrant that's highlighted. Also under Schedule B, Assistant Harbor Masters being increased their salary from $16 to $24 in that range, so they could be paid depending on years of service, et cetera.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, moving on to Article 5, funding for town infrastructure. Michael.
This is, as folks know that follow us, at the spring town meeting, we had an article to borrow funds. We went out and borrowed in July, and the proceeds that we get from that is bond premium money, and town meeting approves that, and it goes into the account for infrastructure repairs to both school and general government side under the direction of the facility director.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, moving on to Article 6, easement for South River School solar panels. Michael.
This is just language, folks will remember back in the spring, we did the other schools, South River wasn't, their easement wasn't ready. This is to approve an easement to put photovoltaics on their school roofs. This allows the utility company to come in and run the necessary cables.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, moving on to Article 7, easements for dog park and DPW solar panels.
This is very similar to the previous article. This is for the dog park. Dog park's going to be very unique. It's going to have photovoltaics used for sheltering for the four-legged friends and the two-legged friends. And then this article allows the easement to install those. And at the DPW, it allows the easement to install photovoltaics at that facility also.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, moving on to Article 8, budget transfers for capital expenses and other budget items. Michael.
This is a standard free cash article. Some of the items in here are capital budget, some are not. So capital budget, we'll vote on the capital budget ones. And we're waiting. Now, this article only goes forward once we hear that free cash is certified. So once free cash is certified, these expenditures represent $2,613,145.
Great, thank you. Any questions?
Question.
Name and address, please.
Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. Please, can someone give a little highlight on what item 4 and 5 are about?
Michael, do you have that answer?
Yes. Item 4 is police department certification as part of the new police reform. This is a process that you go through, and this is the cost associated with the training for the officers to have a certified police department, which is what you want to have in your community.
Those are training expenses,
Training classes, correct.
ambulance supplies, item 5.
Do you have that answer, Michael?
Yes, ambulance supplies, those are supplies that they use on the ambulance. Band-Aids, medications, any equipment, handheld computers, etc.
Another question, item number 16, there's a reference to a special article. What is that special article reference?
Do you have that answer, Michael?
No, those are special articles, so if some of these go, so the ones that have numbers, those are GL, general ledger. And if you don't fall into a general ledger, you're a special article. It's not an article here. But the one that you're asking about is an airport grant. That's the match with a local community. We own the property, so we do the local match to the airport grant.
Is there any information regarding, Mr. Chairman, what project that's matching?
Michael, do you have that answer?
I don't, but I can get that for you, Mr. Pasevich. I would be happy to email that to you.
Next thing was items 27 and 28. Are those water retained funds?
Do you have that answer, Michael?
Yes, they are,
It is,
yes.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, moving on to Article 9, easement for Veterans Park improvements, 25 Main Street. Michael?
So, as folks know, we've been working with the Commonwealth to take the dam, the fish ladder out, and make some adjustments to the water there in the teardrop pond. So the next phase to really get into doing the work, you have to have the easement to be able to do it. Situate Cheer, we're going to be entering the area. If you know Situate Cheer is that white building to the left of Veterans Park. So those owners are allowing us a full easement and a temporary easement, and they're not charging, so they're giving it to us free. So town meeting has to approve the easement so that we can do the work.
Great. Any questions? Seeing none, moving on to Article 10, land purchase, 2160 Ocean Street. Is somebody from CPC here?
If they're not, Mr. Chairman, I can.
Michael?
So this is a land purchase that CPC and Open Space wanted to do. It's a small parcel of land located to the left of the South River Park. It was owned by the Bibiano family, and they want to add on to that open space by the river and extend the park in that direction.
Any questions on that? Seeing none, moving on to Article 11, funding for traffic flow improvements at Brant Rock Esplanade from the DPW. Tom Reynolds?
Yes, this article is for phase 1 of the pedestrian traffic safety in Brant Rock. There's 3 funding sources. One is $499,997, $250,000 from the town and $250,000 from Chapter 90 monies to do phase 1.
Any questions on that article? All right. Seeing none, zoning bylaw amendment, LOMR changes. Greg?
I didn't realize I took it.
These zoning changes are required by FEMA. They've done some LOMAR mapping, 2 different dates, April 10th and August 9th. April 10th has 7 homes coming into the flood zone, and this is in the Ferry Hill Seaview area, right next to the Bridgeway. 29 homes are coming out with that April 10th change. August 9th change is down in the Brant Rock area by the Brant Rock Market. All 5 homes are coming out with that LOMAR change.
Thank you. Any questions on that article? Seeing none, moving on to Article 13. It's a petition article for the lease of Peter Igo Park. Petitioner is Bud Dukes, or is Bud in? Bud here? There you go. Do you want to go to the podium? Or, thank you.
I'm Craig Alvey, 69 Winslow Cemetery Road, representing Peter Igo Park. And this article is proposing that the town consider leasing Peter Igo Park to Friends of Peter Igo Park for $1 per year.
All right. Are there any questions on this article?
Question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Can you state your name and address, please?
Paul Nihill, Telegraph Hill Road, Marshfield.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, how much revenue will the town lose if we lease out the park? Is proposing a $1 a year payment fair to the town? And moreover, is this fair to other people that pay for sports in-town fees for using lacrosse fields, baseball, etc.? I just think this sets a bad precedent and potentially, sets us up.
Okay, so your question is how much money would the town lose?
Absolutely.
Because it's not a for or against type of a thing. Michael, do you have that answer?
how much money we would lose, the town would be opposed to leasing recreation department property that's been funded by CPC dollars. I've been working with, in the rec department, with Bud Dukester to come up with an MOU to address some of the issues that he wants, but not all of them. So it's the hope that when we come to an agreement on the MOU, he will withdraw this article, ask town meeting to pass over.
Okay.
Okay, so the assumption is that the town will not.
Right now, Michael is saying that the town is not supporting the article, but
Thank you, sir.
but we can get to that at town meeting if it's still on the docket. Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes.
My name's Mary Chalmers, 15 Elderberry Lane. Now, I'm looking at this thinking, okay, if you have someone else controlling it other than the town, does this limit the taxpayers from having a free, open park available?
Michael, are you going to be answering these questions, do you think?
I mean, I'm happy to
Yeah, go
answer them,
ahead.
but now we're getting into, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
we're sort of debating the issue, and I
Right.
think we've gone beyond the scope of this type of meeting.
I just think it limits, I
Yeah,
can see limitations.
I get you, yeah. I mean,
It's a
typically,
public
these are
park.
conversations, like Michael said, that we have at town meeting, and this article is still going to be
Okay.
presented. It's more of an information gathering versus like for or against. Any other questions? I recognize, yep, in front.
Sue Walker, 28 Quail Run. Is it legal to use CPC funds and then further then lease out a property that is supported by CPC funds?
Do we have that?
I'll defer to town council.
There are some scenarios under which it could be possible to lease this land, but they'll have to be compliant with procurement laws. The Recreation Department probably has to take a vote on whether they're going to allow this use. There's a number of hurdles that would have to be jumped in order to make it legal.
Does that answer your question?
Betsy Appleby,
Great.
Green Hill Lane.
I haven't recognized you yet, Betsy. How about you?
I'm just wondering, if this goes through, what about access for the organization or the use of the park, like pickleball, hockey, basketball, volleyball, bocce ball?
We have that
I
answer.
mean, how is that all going to be
Beyond
impacted?
the scope.
Town meeting. I guess that'd be a district town meeting of the article still
This
there.
is just a placeholder.
Yeah. You, name and address?
Adrian Shaw, C Street, Marshfield. I just had a question. It just says lease. Are there restrictions on this lease? Are there any terms of this lease? I mean, if there's none, then that means there are none. As a resident, to vote on something, I would want to know the details of the lease that I'm agreeing
We have
to.
that.
There are no terms at this particular point. And if it was authorized and the selectmen agreed to do it, select board agreed to do it, those terms would have to be agreed upon. And that agreement would be solely up to the select board.
So that wouldn't go to further. So once you agree on terms, the
Town
residents
meeting-
don't have a
town
right
meeting
to
cannot-
vote on whether or not we agree to those terms, because whether.
So
our
town meeting
taxpayers-
can't compel the select board to lease any property or sell any property. It's a coordinate branch of government. If it's authorized, the select board could consider it. But there are a number of other factors too, not the least of which is compliant with procurement law. There has to be a vote to make the land available for lease. There hasn't been a vote to make that land available for lease by the Recreation Department, which has care and custody of the land. Hypothetically speaking, if they were to grant that permission, property like this would have to be disposed of or leased via a procurement process where there'd have to be a request for proposals, and the property, if it was leased, would have to go to the highest bidder.
I'll give $2.
And it would be subject to the restrictions that are required to be on the property as a result of the use of CPC funds.
Can I just follow up on that? Sorry. I just
Could you raise your voice, though?
Yes,
Okay,
sorry.
thank you.
So my question is, when this land, I'm not familiar with Marshfield too much. I moved here about 4 years ago. So when this land was given to the town, I assume by maybe a family or an organization, I'm maybe wrong in that assumption, was it legally given to the town with circumstances that it stayed publicly operated and owned?
I don't know the exact circumstances under which the land was acquired by the town.
Excuse me.
But for the last, a number of decades, this land has been a public park. It's been used as a public park and dedicated to that purpose. So provisions of Chapter 40, Section 15A apply, and that also contains limitations on changes in use.
If I can speak to the issue, that was the
Yeah,
former town dump,
Yes, it was.
is Peter Igo. So it was capped in 1969, I believe, and then subsequently became a park for the town, Peter Igo Park.
I see a hand over here somewhere. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, with all this, Mary Chalmers, 15 Elderberry Lane. My question is, through all these procedures and all these loops, where does the public taxpayers have a say in all this? It sounds like these are all laws, bylaws, and at some point, when do we say we don't want it or we do want it?
Well, that would be a town meeting, and I think there's a lot of hoops to jump through just to have it get set for town meeting, quite honestly, because legally, it sounds like legally there's some things that our council would have to sign off on, and then at town meeting, we would have a vote on that. It may, maybe it's this October, maybe not. Yes.
Dave Carrier, 34 Outlook Road. It's my understanding that they would also have the option to appear at the Recreation Commission and present whatever arguments and concerns they have there before they pass their vote. Is that not correct? Council, sir?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay, yeah, okay.
That's basically what I was asking, is, I mean, where are the platforms before it gets passed? And there are other meetings, we're not aware of where we can express our opinion other than the final in October.
I got you. So I'm gonna go to Bob.
So you appear before the Recreation Department,
Okay,
ask to be on their agenda or watch their agendas to see if they're discussing the article. And then you have to come to town meeting. I don't know whether the article is going to go forward or not go forward, but it had enough signatures to go forward at town meeting, so it goes on the warrant. We're going to take a vote on it. Whether the vote is implemented or not is a legal issue that is kind of beyond the scope of tonight's meeting, but there's a lot of hoops that have to be jumped through.
thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Kathy Merritt, 23 Constantine Drive. Can you speak to the difference between the lease and the MOA? They're two separate things. One might happen and the other might happen.
You have that answer.
Sure, the town, in many circumstances, will enter licenses. As a matter of fact, when anybody uses any of our town fields, technically, that's what we're doing. Those do not require town meeting approval, and they usually require only the approval of the entity that's in charge of that land. So in the case of fields that are in charge of the Recreation Department, you apply for a license to use that field. That's what most of the town entities do. There are some special purpose fields. Obviously, you can't play a regulation football game on a baseball field or a softball field, so those fields have more limited purposes. But there are fields that are football fields that can be used for soccer, lacrosse, any number of other sports that are played. And how those are usually delved out is based on a licensing process administered by the Recreation Department.
So that's the MOA.
Those are functionally a memorandum of agreement. It's another form of a license.
So we're not sure which way this is going, whether it's going to be that.
Well, my understanding is there are discussions as to whether they will get a license. They have been licensing for years aspects of the park in exchange for taking care of the park, which I think everybody would agree they've done a pretty nice job there. But in the same respect, the public access is a central issue for the town. I expect it'll always be an issue, and it sounds to me like there's a lot of people here that are concerned about limitations on public access.
I think I saw a hand. I see. There you go.
Mr. Murphy, you said...
Name and address?
Oh, sorry, James Norton, 40 Temple Road, Marshfield. You said that the MOA is under discussion with the Friends of Peter Igo Park, and the town right now is not supporting this, you said. Does that mean the Board of Selectmen is not supporting it? And you?
Well, the Board of Selectmen didn't vote on it because they don't vote on private petition articles.
Right.
But the rec department is opposed to it. We all share the same concerns. I don't really want to debate this, but we all share the same concerns. It's funded with public dollars. We don't want limitations. I'm not saying they're saying there's limitations, but the rec department thing is it needs to be open, there needs to be pickleball, there needs to be tennis, everything that goes on there. For all those reasons, they're opposed to it. But there are some things that they want addressed. They didn't need to do it this way, So they came to the table, and we're trying to work out some things that they're concerned about through this written licensing agreement, allow them to do some things, and everyone else to use it as it's being used and will continue to be used.
So those are the issues that are being discussed in the MOU.
That is correct.
Thank you, sir.
Betsy?
Betsy Appleby. Will the advisory board, they usually make a recommendation to town meeting?
Yeah,
You take
yeah,
a
we-
vote
yeah.
prior to town meeting?
We're kind of curious as to how this is all going to play out, whether it's going to get withdrawn like it did last time. So, but we will make a decision at a meeting probably in 2 weeks
Okay,
with the information that we have at the time.
you'll make a
And that's
decision and
just a
announce it?
recommendation. You know,
Yeah.
obviously, sometimes we recommend stuff that people vote against. So I appreciate that you think so highly of the advisory board's recommendation.
We do.
Yes.
Sue Walker, 28 Quill Run. Is it, I don't even know, is this appropriate to even ask like what they want to do with it when they lease it? Is that an appropriate question? What's the goal in leasing it for $1?
I don't know. It's kind of confusing for me. There's so, because typically these are the things that we do at town meetings. So I don't know that answer. What do we think? It's fine.
Fair question?
Fair
Okay.
question.
So what are they planning on doing with it when they lease our community preservation funded
All right.
public property
Yep.
for
Do you have
$1?
Yeah, Craig Alvey.
Great.
Same thing we've always done, is basically what we've done since we initiated the whole project to renovate the park. We've maintained the park, other than CPC funds, to initially make the initial improvements to the park, which are the tennis court, the basketball court, the multi-use court, the small courts. Other than that, and the contribution that came from the USDA, $45,000, everything else that we've either self-supported through services in kind or raised the money through tournaments and the like. So the town's been very generous, the town itself, the residents, the business people. So the intent is not to change anything, really. We're not anti-pickleball, as I explained, we're not anti any sport. So the old thing is to just, what we do now is we pay a lot of fees and user fees, and then we also pay for everything else that we do to maintain the park. So the idea was to kind of equalize that and it seems like we're getting hit twice. We're doing the work and we're getting paid, and we're having to pay, rather. So what this whole proposal was to sort of equalize that and make it something that's more equitable. So the MOU that we're discussing with the town has a similar, focus, and is pointing out some things where Friends of Peter Igo Park can access funds for the maintenance of the park for approved expenses that we were not aware of before. But that's part of the discussion with the MOU. So, but basically operationally nothing changes. It's the town park. And then even if the article goes forward and is approved, it gets reviewed on an annual basis, and if we're not doing a great job in maintaining the park, then deal's off.
Question.
Yep. Hold on, I get one over here first. Go ahead.
No, Kathy, not Constantine Drive.
Could you speak up?
DPW is the one.
Sorry, we couldn't hear you.
It's hard to hear.
I'm sorry.
Could you speak
No,
up a little
I can't
bit?
hear you. My
Yeah,
voice
this is right here for me too.
Kathy, Mary, Constantine Drive. No, you said it's reviewed annually, but it's reviewed by the DPW, not the town, correct? It wouldn't have to come back to the town, it's just.
Well, the DPW is the town, or the rec department is the town, so
Right.
it's not,
Yeah, but it's not like a public forum.
no, it's an operational.
Okay. Someone else is, yes.
Another question.
Name and address.
If nothing's gonna
Name and
change,
address, please.
Mary Chalmers, 15 Elderberry Lane. If nothing's gonna change, why lease it? Okay? And as far as fundraising, we as users have joined and given money to the tennis as members to support you. We've also volunteered our time to clean the park. It was a fundraiser.
Yeah, I get it. It's more of a town meeting type of.
And I'm responding to
Yeah,
what
okay.
he said.
I gotcha.
I still don't understand, if there's no change, why lease it?
Fair enough. Any other questions? All right, yeah,
Sorry, just had one question. Mr. Marasco.
Are you sure this is gonna be the last
Adrian
one?
Bashad,
This is the last time. I don't know. Man.
Adrian Bashad, 30th Street. Mr. Marasco referred to there were some issues. What are those issues?
Do you have that answer?
What are the issues at the park?
Well, you said that the MOA, you were trying to resolve it, but there were some issues.
We have to come to agreement on, we come at it very differently than them. We recognize the work that they do, but my role in government is to protect the taxpayers and the investment that the taxpayers make in the park. So we look for commonality in that, and that's what the MOU or the licensing, it's really a licensing document, will recognize some of the stuff that they want. We're really getting into debating. One of the issues is they don't like paying a lot of the fees when they run their programs, but everyone pays fees. I mean, that's where we get the money to fertilize the fields, to aerate, to do paint the stripes or tape. I don't even know if they're painting the stripes, to be honest with you. I don't get down to that level, but the MOA, which would be a licensing vehicle, would allow, from my standpoint, if we do a licensing agreement with an MOA, they're all the same, that will allow all the services to continue. They would get some recognition for some of the fundraising they do, would then offset some of the fees. That's what they do. Our end of it won't change any of the activities that are physically taking place.
So it won't transfer any authority to them?
But we can't do that until we have to come to agreement, and if they're happy, town council's happy, then we would do the licensing, and then they would pass over that article.
Is that in a public setting, that discussion?
So, no, that's doesn't need town meeting approval.
Yeah, sure.
It is in a public meeting, we'll discuss it at the selectmen's meeting. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? I'm sort of looking over that way. Yeah.
I'm sorry if you
Name and
mind. Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. I missed something on Article 8. It's item 2. Getting an answer to me on that?
Would I mind?
I'm sorry.
What is Article 8, number 2?
Those are, I think Mr. Pasevich, you're referring to professional services?
Professional services, $50,000.
Those are consultants that we bring in. That's how we pay for them. If I have to have a piece of land surveyed, if I have to have a assessment on a piece of land that we're purchasing. Also, we have consultants in, as you know, Mr. Pasevich, from attending. We've just gone through the process of hiring a treasurer collector. Right now, we have a consultant helping the town, helping the assistant treasurer. We also have a consultant helping the town accountant. So this is how we pay for those.
So, if I may, Mr. Chairman, so the T/C stands for what?
What is, do you have that
Well,
answer,
so
Michael?
they fall under, so consultants and everything, that comes out of the treasurer collector's
Treasurer
budget.
collector
Yes.
professional
Yep, you were correct. Yep.
So as a free cash appropriation, is it kind of like an unusual thing, an emergency thing?
Well, they're not really emergencies, but they're things that come up that you can't plan for. We want to buy a piece of land, or suddenly a piece of land becomes available. We have to have it surveyed. We got to do a title search on it. We have to do an assessment, is it toxic?
I guess what my point is how much of that is due to the loss of the treasurer and accountant?
It's hard to say because the salary that's not being used offsets that, then whatever's not covered, if it's not covered, then it would come out of this line item also.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Any other questions on the article we were just talking about, Article 13? Perfect, okay. Okay, seeing none, typically I would just adjourn the meeting, but it's a whole new world here, and I'm not sure if it's because it's hybrid, so I'm going to actually recognize Chair Jim Kilcoyne.
Yeah, so I would like to make a motion. I'm going to make a motion, then you can make a motion for your team. I'd like to make a motion to close the meeting for the Select Board and look for a second.
Second.
Motion made and duly second. Roll call is in order. Mr. Kilcoyne?
Aye.
Ms. Fiddler?
Aye.
2-0 vote to adjourn.
Okay. Now yes, hold on. Okay, thank you. Mike, my town council. The advisory board meeting will be on Tuesday, October 3rd, somewhere in this building. I am going to make a motion to adjourn, and I'm going to handle the advisory board. I vote to adjourn. Tom Scollins, aye. Keith?
Aye.
Sherry?
Aye.
Donnie?
Aye.
Mark? Aye. Rick?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you so much for coming.
Mark.
Yeah.